You hear a story about someone who hit bottom and came back sharper. Prison, addiction, uninsurable, and now they're at the top of the world. You're not inspired, you're unsettled. Because when life hit you, you didn't get sharper, you got smaller. And the private thought you won't say out loud is, if they can go through that and rise, why can't I handle my own life? Psychologists call this the reflection gap. Your brain can see their result, but not their process. You can't see the years they spent in the fire. You can't see the version of them that almost didn't make it. You're comparing your middle to their ending. And that miscomparison isn't just unfair. It's actively convincing you that you're broken when you're just still inside the forge. Let me show you what you're not seeing. Robert Downey Jr. was born into the fire. His father, a filmmaker, handed him drugs when he was 6 years old. 6, not a teenager making bad decisions. A child whose own dad blurred the line between parenting and poisoning. By his 20s, Downey was the most promising actor of his generation, nominated for an Oscar. Magnetic on screen, but the fire that was lit in his childhood didn't stay small. It spread. By the late 90s, he was a punchline, arrested multiple times, found in a neighbor's bed after blacking out. Prison time. Actual prison. Not rehab, not a scandal, not a bad interview, a cell. And here's the detail that always stops me. At one point, he became literally uninsurable. Insurance companies, the most cold and calculating institutions on earth, ran their numbers and concluded that hiring Robert Downey Jr. was too much risk. No studio could touch him. His career was not just damaged, it was legally over. That's the version of him most people forget. They remember Iron Man. They remember the comeback. They forget the cell. They forget the years where the only thing he was known for was being a cautionary tale. And this is where it gets weird, because if you only see the result, you miss the mechanism. The reason Downey didn't just recover, but became something entirely new, isn't that he had more willpower than you. It's not that he was special. It's that he stayed in the fire long enough for the fire to do its work. Philosophers have been circling this idea for centuries. Nietzsche called it amor fati, not just accepting your fate, but loving it, wanting nothing different, wanting the fire. Camus wrote that there is no sun without shadow, and it is essential to know the night. But neither of them were describing something passive. They were describing the exact moment you stop resisting the pressure and start letting it reshape you. The moment you realize the fire isn't punishment, it's the process. Here's the science. Psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun identified a phenomenon called post-traumatic growth. Roughly 50 to 70% of people who endure significant trauma report positive psychological change afterward, not just recovery, growth, deeper relationships, clearer priorities, increased personal strength. The brain under extreme pressure doesn't just survive, it literally rebuilds its meaning-making architecture. The same neural machinery that makes suffering unbearable is the machinery that, if you stay in the fire long enough, rewires you into someone who couldn't have existed without it. Downey's turning point wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a movie scene. After his last arrest, something clicked. He didn't make a speech. He didn't announce a comeback. He just stopped fighting the process. He went to rehab and actually did the work. He took roles no one else wanted. He showed up early. He stayed late. He rebuilt himself not with grand gestures, but with small, boring, invisible decisions stacked across years. When Jon Favreau fought to cast him as Iron Man, the studio didn't want him. They wanted a safe choice. But Favreau understood something. He said the best and worst moments of Downey's life happened in public, and he had to find a way to rebuild himself. That's the character. A man who had to be forged. The result wasn't a repaired version of the old Robert Downey Jr. It was someone the fire made possible. And I know this not because I read about it. I know it because I've been in a smaller version of the fire. I had already paid half my tuition for a master's degree. Non-refundable. The only thing between me and that dream was a piece of paper that said Band 7 on the IELTS. First attempt, 5.5. Fine. Nerves. I'll try again. Second attempt, 5. Lower. I didn't just fail. I got worse. And the money was already gone. The pressure wasn't just a feeling. It was a clock. A debt. A dream that was slipping backward every time I reached for it. One night I sat in my room, put my hand on my head, and made a decision that didn't make logical sense. I wasn't going back. I was going forward. I had no evidence that I could win. I had 2 failures that said I couldn't. But something in me decided anyway. I failed again after that. A third time. But by then, something in me had already changed before the result proved it. I got a chance to retake just one skill, the speaking section, and I poured everything into that single opportunity. And I got the score. Not because I finally tried hard enough, because I had stopped treating the pressure like an enemy and started letting it finish its work. Here's what I learned. The pressure I hated, the non-refundable tuition, the third failure, the nights of depression. I look back at all of it now with something I can't quite name. Not gratitude, something closer to respect. It pushed me forward in a way comfort never could. It forced me to enjoy the process because the outcome already looked impossible. And when the outcome looked impossible, the only thing left was to give everything to the work itself. The reason you haven't fixed this yet is not a character flaw. It's a design problem. You were never given the right model. You were told that pressure is a test you pass or fail. That strong people don't struggle. That if you were built for this, it wouldn't feel like it's killing you. That's wrong. The fire is supposed to feel like it's destroying you. That's not a sign that you're failing the process. That is the process. If you give up, there's no evidence you ever tried. The effort disappears. The pain becomes pointless. But the reward for staying in the fire isn't just survival. It's becoming someone who couldn't exist without it. Someone the fire didn't take. Someone the fire made. The forge doesn't ask permission. It just burns. The art isn't surviving it. The art is becoming something the fire couldn't destroy.